Let's take it from the top.
From the top. Welcome to our series with two of our very own paralegals, Amy and Emily.
Hi.
They're here
Hello.
and they're looking to do what? What is this series called? So you want to go to law school.
Yep.
Great.
Exactly.
Why did that remind me of, do you think you're smarter than a fifth grader?
I don't know. You'll
is a
find
game
out when you
show.
get to law school. I think the first thing that people want to know who watch a show like this is why you would want to go to law school. So, Amy, let's start with you. I mean, what about your background, or how did you get into thinking that going to law school would be the right decision for you?
Honestly, I came from medicine, and it was to the point where I had submitted my primary applications to medical schools, and I was working my secondaries, and I realized that the career path that I thought I had wanted for the majority of my life and had spent so much time dedicating myself to and working so hard for was no longer my dream. And I had to kind of take a beat and realize that it was okay for me to want to change dreams, that it was okay for one dream to not pan out because it had evolved for reasons outside of my control. And I had always been politically involved and curious, but it was something that I considered more of a hobby before, this year really, because my passion had always been medicine. And now that passion had kind of dwindled, I was looking at I was reflecting on what I was finding myself thinking about more and more. And that was politics and US history. And I realized that I could use my background in some way and enter law school in a way to maybe help physicians or to better the country in some way. And I know that sounds very idealistic, but
I had a very similar reason to go into law school.
it was more of like an existential thing
It's
for
okay
me.
to be idealistic. There's no problem.
Yeah. It was more of an idealistic thing where I was like, this is not something I want to do for the rest of my life, but I still have that passion and drive that I need to do something outside of myself, and I need to do something that would benefit society as a whole. And law school is a way for me to do that. And the more I was looking into it, the more I realized how versatile a law degree is and how many different things I could do with a JD. And how many different avenues I could go down. Whereas with an MD, I was pretty stuck. Once I had completed an ED residency, that was what I would do for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And I think I kind of took everything I had learned with medicine and, the coping skills I had learned and had to grow and getting over burnout through COVID, and realized that I was strong enough to make a change to whatever I wanted to do. And I was strong enough to survive because I had survived COVID and I had survived working the front lines. And it was something that I wanted to take and venture into a new path.
Hard act to follow, but
It is a very hard act to follow. Very well
What about
said.
you, Emily?
Emily, so I guess I think another thing that leads people, and people who may be interested in going to law school often are trying to pick majors or things that they're going through high school or college. What's your own background and experience educationally that's kind of driving you towards this law school future?
Yeah, so in high school, I really found my niche in U.S. history. I really discovered that this is what I'm super passionate about. And then I took government as well, and I was like, this is super fascinating, kind of like you, where I'm just like, wow, I'm enthralled by this. So going into undergrad, it's a very hard decision for a 17, 18-year-old to like figure out what they
You don't know what your whole
want to
life
do.
is? 17?
No, right.
You
Like,
might not even
it's-
have a driver's license.
No, exactly. Some of the kids didn't have a driver's license, but you have to figure out what career, what major you want to go into. So I knew I was interested in government and laws adjacent to government. So UB offered a law bachelor program. So I did that in undergrad. And it was more so experimental for me for the first year or two, because going in, I was a freshman in 2020. So it was a very weird time to start college anyways. But it was more experimental for me. And then as I became more familiarized with the staff and the professors and the other students in my program, I really realized that the content of what I'm learning is just as fascinating to me as what I was learning in high school. And I had always been in between, though, law and education. I've always been a teacher in second grade, or in middle school. I would go to the second grade classroom and read to the students and help them with their math. And I would go to other schools in high school and read books to other kids in the Greece Central School District. Like, I just love to teach and I love to be around kids. So I minored in education in criminology because I was also interested in criminology in undergrad. And then my senior year of college, I had the opportunity to intern with Judge Brenda Friedman of the Erie County Family Court. And that was by far the best experience I have ever had. She was on an all-female team, her clerks and her secretary, and they were just such strong women. And I think being led by 4 women that are so confident and so eloquent and clear in the legal field was very inspiring to me, actually. I was like, this is awesome. Like, they can do it. I can do it too. And Judge Friedman was a insanely great mentor and teacher, and she taught me a lot about juvenile delinquents and the youth part. And that was like post raise the age, so there was all these new developments in the law and how she had to kind of guide the kids going through her courtroom. So that educational background kind of solidified for me that, yeah, I think law is where I want to go. And that was the perfect mix of education and law for me, at least, because I still had in front of me, like, yeah, you can work with kids and you can teach these kids how she did as they went through her courtroom. And you can also make a difference and practice law at the same time. And I just thought that was awesome. So that's my educational background.
So, there's, I think, 2 things that often motivate people to go. And actually, the 2 of you seem to be in different spots. Amy's kind of got a goal that she wants to get to, this healthcare space. And between Patrick, my original partner, Patrick Pullano, and I, we had a very different situation. Pat always wanted to be a lawyer. What he did wasn't as important. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be a healthcare attorney to effectuate some sort of outcome. For your career and your goals, I mean, how do you see? Are you going into this with a defined end game, or you're just interested in being a lawyer and figuring out what the career can do?
I think more so the latter, but I know that advocacy is a big thing for me. My personal life, I guess, like a lot of people, I'm a child of divorce, and I was a witness to divorce at 6 years old, and it was very contentious. The custody battles, the alimony, the child support, everything. I got to watch all that firsthand, and then I got to watch it again when I was in high school. And all of the different facets of family law, I've always been kind of family law, and I have grown up together, I guess. And I had a law guardian when I was younger, as my mom was going through that first divorce, and she was the perfect advocate. I remember we loved her. She made us feel so comfortable. And I think from that point, that was, looking back on this, I guess at the time I didn't know this, but like, she was very formative for me and showing that, like, you can practice law, but you can also be tender and guide people, and especially young kids, like, advocate for them when they don't have a voice or when they can't necessarily advocate for themselves in the courtroom. And I think that is a goal that also drives me, as well as just the advocacy part of the law.
A big element of going to law school is the cost.
Yeah.
So there's an economics part, Amy, in terms of, and you've talked about a couple of different areas: education, government, private law practice. What do you see are the challenges of getting through law school and then afterwards paying for it?
I mean,
have you even thought about it?
I have thought about it. I've had many conversations with different attorneys around the office. I think a couple months ago I talked to you, Beth, about this because I was trying to form a school list for myself. And one of the best pieces of advice I got was go somewhere where you get money, like the most amount of money. And if I want to end up in practice somewhere outside of New York State, go somewhere where you want to practice. And so as it stands right now, I'm thinking between Maryland, Massachusetts, and California. And so I'm not really planning on staying in New York State unless something changes, which it very might, well, it may. But I'm looking at getting the highest possible LSAT score I can in order to get the most scholarship money I can, because I'm also, with my bachelor's in biology, am eligible to sit for the patent exam, patent bar.
So am I.
Yeah.
Same thing.
So I want to do that. And from previous conversations I've had with previous attorneys, they say that, like, you should really do that because it's such a small field in the larger context of law. And so I'm really hoping to just go somewhere where I get the most amount of money, but also in a state where I could see myself practicing for a long time.
Now, as you say that, are you prepared to, I guess, you're going into this with a passion to effectuate change for physicians and healthcare system. But if you go down that path of the patent bar,
You'll be working for the pharmacy industry.
So, well, it's not even just that, but are you ready, willing, and able to walk away from an initial passion to develop something new?
I don't really consider it as walking away from. I think
how do you envision then the two incorporating?
Well, I think I can learn both. I think there's room in my life where I can learn both, and I can see what I find myself more drawn to. And I do want to take the patent bar exam because it's like a selfish thing. I just want to have it under my belt, It's like it's an ego thing, I think, in some degree. But also I want to see how it can interact with each other, how the, working in trademarks can interact with protecting physicians, and if it can at all. But I want to be able to explore that, and I don't think that by doing one, I'm giving up the other.
For you, as you look at your goals, your career goals, why you're getting into this, you've talked about family law, we've talked about the government, education. Where do you see that you're going, and the economics of how you pay back the debt? What do you know about career advancement and growth in these disparate fields?
Career growth. So the way I look at life is that the world is my oyster, and I don't really have a ceiling for myself. And I know that's kind of a green way to look at things, but I try not to use that as like an impetus not to go further, if that makes any sense. In terms of like paying for law school, I have thought about this very hard. Obviously, with like student or federal loans, that is kind of up in the air now. That throws a little bit of a wrench into how like students can get government assistance with things. But in high school and in college, I was all over the websites that you can go on to get like grants or scholarships or anything like that. I was applying left and right, writing letters like I was Alexander Hamilton. Like I'm not kidding. I had
prolific writer.
Yeah, I was writing to get as much money as I could. So that is another way that I am anticipating helping to fund my educational experience.
So in our office, you're a paralegal in our litigation group, and you're a paralegal in our transactional side. And I know you guys outside of the office, study together. Do you compare notes? Yeah. Do you feel like the grass is greener for the other? Do you feel like, do you wish you were on the transactional side or do you wish you were doing more of the litigation? Any conversations about that?
I can handle that. I'll start first.
Yeah,
okay.
You go.
I love my team. I love litigation. And I think the firm does a really good job. Even anytime we have a new legal assistant start or a paralegal that's in the similar boat as me, I have told everybody they do a really good job of getting you everywhere. Like I'm in L&E, I'm in commercial, I do some corporate stuff sometimes, healthcare. I get experience all over the board, but I like that it's all under the litigation umbrella, I guess. So I have never really had FOMO. I really enjoy what I'm doing, and I don't feel like I need to, I guess, jump ship for lack of better words, because I feel like I'm getting good experience where I'm at now.
Yeah.
I did experience FOMO when I first started. When I first started as a legal assistant, I did experience FOMO, but I weaseled my way into litigation, specifically with medical record review. While also balancing what I needed to do for corporate. And as I grew in my role and had more experience at the firm and I got promoted, I did less and less and less of litigation. But as it stands currently, I'm still doing a little bit. Like I'm still exposed to different parts of the firm, like L&E, corporate healthcare, specifically with L&E and how we have a couple of clients who are in litigation right now who work largely in the healthcare space, and seeing how those issues pan out and seeing how like we write the motions and, I'm not isolated from it. I would say it's a very well-rounded learning experience because I'm not just doing one thing like entity formation. I'm doing a lot of different stuff. It just might be in smaller capacities, but I'm still getting the experience.
Excellent.
I like the idealism of why you're going in. I think that most people I've met over the years went into the practice of law with some calling or vision of why they wanted to do it. What risks, Amy, let's start with you. What risks do you see to the future as you go in? Have you thought about risks? I mean, what things could impact your practice as you get through the next 3 years of your life and then start to actually practice law? What do you see?
I see
if anything?
AI.
Okay. What about it?
I see...
The Terminator's coming to get you? And...
No, actually, no. I don't have an existential fear of it.
Got it.
It's more of like, I'm worried about people being really trusting with it and kind of taking AI as like, okay, this is the letter of the law. Whereas it's more of a tool to use, but you still have to double check it. Like you would have to double check a paralegal's work or legal assistant's work. And I think people sometimes take it and be like, well, they did it for me. I can just submit it. Specifically in healthcare, I think a lot of people have a tendency to Google symptoms already. And I think with AI, they may be using it as a physician or a provider's diagnosis. They might be using it as a way to get out of going to a doctor's appointment or as an alternative. And I think that can be really dangerous. And I don't know how it would play out as far as like malpractice would go, because there's a lot of... I see there may be a lot of potential liability there, but I'm interested in seeing how that plays out. But that is something I've got my eye on with how AI interacts with the law and healthcare in general.
For you, how do you see that law school will help prepare you for risks? What risks do you see, and how do you think law school is going to help you be ready to overcome?
So the risks that I am more so worried about, I guess, don't really relate to the career. It's more so personal life. And I guess going into my role at PNF, I had a little laundry list of things that I wanted to check off just to make sure that going into the legal field was for me. And a big part of it is like family work-life dynamic. And I want to have a family one day. And in undergrad, more so what I learned was the fundamentals of law and not so much practical use, I guess. The only time I really saw the law play out in front of me was when I was interning with Judge Friedman. So when I came to PNF, I wanted to see how you all as attorneys and members, how you guys balance your personal lives with your work. And y'all are very busy, but you guys also have time for your family. And that was one risk actually that I was weighing heavily when thinking about going to law school, because I wasn't sure if it was just a universal issue or challenge that all attorneys face. And I'm not saying that that's not something that won't ever come up, but I wanted to see how manageable it was in practice and in real life. So that was a major risk. However, seeing how well everyone balances it, I don't know if you guys think that you balance it well, but you
What
guys...
a great facade.
Dude, I was just going to say, if it's a mask, you guys wear it well, because it
That's what law school teaches you.
Right. But it's instilled hope in me that I don't have to throw away wanting a family for a career or throw away a career for wanting a family. So that was a major risk actually that I saw going into it. Not so much, I guess, job related like AI, but that was something I needed to check off my mental laundry list to see if this is something.
Yeah, that's actually, to jump off that, it's not something I had particularly considered because I had already kind of figured and accepted that I wouldn't have much of a personal life if I was going to pursue medicine. And so I was kind of assuming law would be the same. But after seeing how the members, interact with family and seeing Brett personally with his kids around the office, it was really heartwarming for me and like hopeful, like Em said, where I can have both if I want. And I think seeing how you implement boundaries in your work and life,
Yes.
that has been really helpful for me, and seeing how you make time for everything that you need to make time for.
Look at you being a role model.
Well, I would offer,
You
I
too,
think
Beth.
that
You too.
the goal
Yeah.
over the years, though, of our office was to change some of the dynamics, to not maybe have a wall between work and life,
Right.
but to incorporate life into work.
Mm-hmm.
So my kids' involvement, I think, is a unique dynamic of our office and what we have tried to build.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the JD law world, if you go into it with the right mindset, you can build the future that you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'm kind of curious, do you think law school will help you build that? The vision of the world that you want?
Yeah. I think law
How
school
about
is
you?
Yeah.
That's a really deep question.
Isn't it, though?
It is. It's a very deep question. I would also like to say yes, but I haven't, I guess, put too much thought to that question
We'll schedule
directly.
this for next year at this time.
Yeah.
Have another
Yeah.
interview as they
We should do
are
annual
through a
check-ins.
1 year
Yeah.
I would
check-in
love that.
We would
to
love
see
that.
how you feel if the answer to that question is playing out in real time. And
First
see how
years.
Yeah.
One else.
First years, 1L, 2L. You've had an interesting experience not everybody has. This is a show about the interplay between law and business. It's 6-minute increments. How do you find billing your life 6 minutes at a time?
Oh my goodness.
That was a whole new world for me. And I think it is still heavily a work in progress. But I'm finding every day that I can put everything in my timesheet and I just have to figure out how to word it, because I am working the entire day, but it's not always like working on a specific document. You know, I could be having conversations with attorneys about a client or about a specific matter and what to do about it. And I thought that wasn't billable until Brett and I had a conversation about it. And I was like, oh,
ABB.
always be billing. And so now it's kind of funny. It's kind of corny, but I actually have your voice saying that in my head every day now.
I have Langston's in my head too.
in the morning, ABB. And I'm like, I'm trying.
Yep.
For you, you've had an interesting time to be able to get to see the bills. What do you think it looks like a month and a half later to actually see your time from before and like analyze it?
Like,
Has it made you change how you keep track of the time?
so I'm kind of in the same boat. I try really hard to put it in the time that I do it, but then I get flooded with other things and I kind of put it off. So
Let me rephrase the question.
Okay.
You and I have had a couple experiences where you've had to look at some bills. We did the work in October,
Right.
but you're not seeing it till now in November.
Mm-hmm.
What do you find interesting having that perspective to now actually send it to the client today for something you did a month and a half ago?
Like, what do I think about sending work that
Has it changed how you write your entry?
I don't know. I don't know if it's changed how I write my
I got
entry.
to work on this.
I think it's changed how I write my
Oh, I
entry.
know it.
Yeah. Yeah. In what way?
I'm a lot more descriptive.
I think I was trained to be descriptive though, because even as a legal assistant watching the insurance billing, I don't know how many meetings I sat through on insurance billing, listening to the billers around me get lectured on, you have to be as descriptive as possible, no block billing. You need these codes because these insurance companies will decline your invoice. So I think when I became a paralegal, I had that already kind of ingrained in my brain that I have to be descriptive and I have to put down literally verbatim exactly what I'm doing, itemizing every little detail, how many pages I touched, how many pages I've read. And I've tried to be as descriptive as possible in my invoices.
Now, have you seen any of our episodes with general counsels of other businesses and corporations?
No.
I would offer you might want to look at that because your experience with the insurance defense might be different depending on who the customer is.
Yeah.
And that learning your customer teaches a lot about what they want. So, for instance, I could go be general counsel of a corporation tomorrow. If you sent me what you just said that you were sending to insurance counsel, I would not be happy. Why? Well, it'd go on for pages, and I don't have the time to read it. So, what's been your experience, I guess, drafting things differently based on the clients? Because I think she's had a unique experience. If you actually had a lot of conversations with the clients analyzing their bills.
I would say I haven't had a ton of experience with particular clients who are maybe unhappy with their bills or have questions on their bills. I know that we've had a client or a couple of clients who have, and I think it has made me want to be more descriptive with the amount of pages I've touched of something, how many pages I've reviewed, what I've researched in particular, like specifically, instead of just saying like researching the relevance of this topic in relation to this document. I'm going a lot deeper in, say, like researching confidentiality, termination, these different kinds of clauses in relation to section blank of this agreement. And I think, at least in my head, if I was getting an invoice for that, I would want to see exactly what someone did. And I think I'm starting to try and see it from that perspective as someone who would be getting a bill. I'd be like, oh, okay, they spent 0.3 on this specifically, and I know exactly what they did. And I think that's what I'm trying to do.
So because this is an insanely expensive, and we should always always be billing, I want to try to summarize this, though, with one last question to each of you that is the same question. Against all advice that I shouldn't ask the exact same question. This is going to be out there on the internet. And from now on, we will be trying to have you come back as part of this series. For you to watch today and for us to bring back each of these years, what's one thing that's a takeaway, Amy, that you want to leave for yourself as a seed as you go into this career?
Talk to future Amy.
Talk to future Amy and say, what is your one thing that you want future Amy to remember?
Don't be afraid. Don't put a ceiling on yourself. The world will do it plenty.
Emily.
My one piece of advice for future me is to remember that younger me is proud of you. I think about that all the time, actually.
That's so sweet.
Every time I'm working or I'm doing something and I'm like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
I always think about little Emily next to me, the little chunker with her little metal frame glasses and her bob haircut. I'm like, she would be so proud of me. So I forget that sometimes. So that would be my one piece of advice, to just remember that younger me would be proud.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, on that note, Elizabeth,
Please like, share, subscribe.
tell your enemies.
Tell your enemies. Tell your friends, but also tell your enemies.
Keep them close.
Till
Yes.
next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
ladies.
guys.
Thank
this
you.
is fun.
This is fun.
Yay.
Brett, have you seen
Although
Henninger?
Lenin did say, if you think what I'm talking about in the revolution is carrying Mao's card, I'm not. He was not a Mao Zedong lover. In
But
fact,
I'm not the
So
only
you're old
one.
enough to have lived during the reign of Mao, and you guys don't even seem to know who the hell he is.
Who?
Mao Zedong.
Oh,
You know who that is?
Mao Zedong is like a imperialist or something.
God almighty.
Nope.
Doesn't help us.
It was
And
my
this
guess.
is what's wrong with American education.
Oh
system.
gosh.
Oh, here we
Yeah,
go.
here we go. Don't. We
Yeah.
can't.
Who
Let's
killed-
go back to singing.
Who killed the most people in the 20th century?
CIA.
Mao Zedong.
Maybe the CIA.
I'll take the bet.